And we're back with the final episode of the WWSY Hockey League, celebrating 10 years on this channel with 10 years in our custom league, which is now in year number 10, coming off of a four-peat by the Seattle Emeralds, who are the current reigning champions of the league. They are going to be hard to beat, as they just had their best regular season to date with 61 wins, and they are an unstoppable force, and there's got to be something out there that stops them. As for which team, I'm not sure. I genuinely do not know if there is a team out there that can stop the Seattle Emeralds the way they've been going recently. So with that, let's take a look at the final draft of this series. So going first overall will be Ravin Stefik to the Tokyo Katanas. Second will be Mirko Donati to the Salt Lake City Lakers. The Wolfsburg Wolves pick third with Pierre-Olivier Gilbert. The Nova Scotia Supernovas take Rich Brooks. The Christmas Elf Rings take Curtis Nashimba, 5th overall. The Checking Lions take Jose Rivera, 6th overall. The Fargus Holy Knights take Chris Tribe, 7th overall. The Atlantic City Boardwalk Bullies take Yalu Kruk, 8th overall. The Halifax Tugboats take Bob Hanna, 9th overall. And the Seattle Emeralds take Sal Costin, 10th overall. And the Hall of Fame induction, I mean, there's there's only one guy here. Dornell Roselle, welcome to the Hall of Fame. And we are now on September 1st, so we'll take a look at the... Oh my, what's going on here? And it seems the Seattle Emeralds have gained the most value during this offseason, so only adding to what they currently have going on. Han Young Tak looks to be their best signing here, according to his value anyway. The Christmas Elf Rings and Fargus Holy Knights also added quite a bit of value. Ben Wagner joining the Christmas Elf Rings through trade. And then the Fargus Holy Knights acquired Mark Bartman, also through trade, in exchange for Vladislav Zuk. And the Salt Lake City Lakers only with 4 value gained, as they lost Han Young Tak and Yari Lettinen to free agency. They did sign Stefan Tveit, Kelly Ross, and Mirko Donati, but after no playoffs last season, that's a bit of a shocker. I have to wonder if they're confident with their current roster. And we are now on opening night, which means it's time for a look at the season preview. The cup favorites, of course, are Seattle, with the Checking Lions and the Fargus Holy Knights following behind them. And the Atlantic City Boardwalk Bullies are a dark horse this year. The scoring race will likely be between Dan Gervais, Bob Cunningham, and Mark Johnson. The top defensemen in the league are considered to be Dave Lively, Maxim Benchikov, and Valentin Ivanov. And then among goaltenders, Darek Poulin, Lucas Buess, and Jeff Moorhead are among the top 3. So with that, let's get underway with the Year 10 regular season simulation in the WWSY Hockey League. All right, here we are on January 1st, so it's time for a mid-season standings update. In first currently are the Wolfsburg Wolves with 72 points. And they're followed by the Salt Lake City Lakers, Halifax Tugboats, and Nova Scotia Supernovas, all with 70 points each. And the Seattle Emeralds currently in 5th with only 63 points. The Checking Lions in 6th with 59. Then you have the Atlantic City Boardwalk Bullies and Fargus Holy Knights tied for 7th with 54 points each. And the Tokyo Katanas and Christmas Elf Rings currently sitting outside the playoffs. And if the Christmas Elf Rings are out this year, that would be the first time in league history that they're outside the playoff picture. All right, doesn't seem like there was any major trades around the trade deadline again this year. Just a bunch of rumors and speculation by the looks of it. So I suppose we could just advance to the end of regular season here. And we're at the end of the regular season, so here is the final season standings. You have the Halifax Tugboats with 142 points finishing first. The Wolfsburg Wolves finished second with 131. The Nova Scotia Supernovas finished third with 128. The Salt Lake City Lakers finished fourth with 122. The Seattle Emeralds and Checking Lions are tied in 5th with 115 points each. The Fargus Holy Knights finished 7th with 114. And the Atlantic City Boardwalk Bullies finished 8th with 104, meaning the Tokyo Katanas and the Christmas Elf Rings finish outside the playoffs. As far as player stats go, Eric Brandstrom, I believe I saw, leading the way. Yes, indeed, with 94 points in 81 games played for Halifax. Then you have Pierre Radke with 89 points for the Wolfsburg Wolves. Dan Gervais with 84 points for the Checking Lions. 83 points for Kachameyev of the Atlantic City Boardwalk Bullies. And then Frank McQuire with 79 points rounds out the top 5, followed by Mark Johnson, Dave Scott, Bob Cunningham, Remy Texier, and Roger Beers to round out the rest of the top 10. And then in goal with a minimum of 20 games played, you have Matt Reed in 70 games played with a .930 save percentage and 7 shutouts, followed by Moorhead with a .926 and Kaziel with a .926 as well. Dan Mann of Halifax with a .925 in 29 games played, and Lucas Buess also in 29 games played with a .924. And then Grant and Poulin both have a 923 in 69 and 65 games played respectively. So here are the playoff matchups for year number 10. You have the Atlantic City Boardwalk Bullies versus the Halifax Tugboats, the Fargus Holy Knights versus the Wolfsburg Wolves, the Checking Lions versus the Nova Scotia Supernovas, and the Seattle Emeralds, the reigning champions, versus the Salt Lake City Lakers. Let's see if anyone can dethrone Seattle. All right, so the first round matchups are complete. The Halifax Tugboats beat the Atlantic City Boardwalk Bullies in 7. The Fargus Holy Knights beat the Wolfsburg Wolves in 7. The Nova Scotia Supernovas swept the Checking Lions. And of course, the Seattle Emeralds beat the Salt Lake City Lakers in 5. So now it's the Fargus Holy Knights versus the Halifax Tugboats and the Seattle Emeralds versus the Nova Scotia Supernovas. And that'll do it for the second round, as we have 2 sweeps. The Halifax Tugboats sweep the Fargus Holy Knights, and the Seattle Emeralds sweep the Nova Scotia Supernovas, meaning the championship is between the Seattle Emeralds and the Halifax Tugboats, and the third place round is between the Fargus Holy Knights and Nova Scotia Supernovas. Oh boys, we have a game 7 between Seattle and Halifax. Who's gonna win it? And for the 5th year in a row, your playoff champions are the Seattle Emeralds. My goodness gracious, what have they built over there in Seattle? I mean, it is just a monster over there. I mean, they can't be contained. They officially run this league. Wow. And the Nova Scotia Supernovas beat the Fargus Holy Knights in the third round, or the third place round, I should say. But wow. With that, I think we can fast forward ahead to the awards, and we'll wrap things up. And here are the awards for year number 10. The points award and the goal scorer award goes to Eric Brandstrom of Halifax. The goals against award goes to Brian Grant of the Checking Lions. The best defensive defenseman award goes to James Kelly of the Wolfsburg Wolves. The best captain goes to Matt Corns of the Atlantic City Boardwalk Bullies. And the MVP between Eric Brandstrom, Dan Gervais, and Bob Cunningham is Dan Gervais of the Checking Lions with 84 points in 81 games played. Playoff MVP, Mark Johnson of the Seattle Emeralds. Yep, I mean, he was a key addition for them. They've only gotten better ever since he joined them. Rookie of the year between Brian Grant, Robin Stefik, and Christophe Francois Deruel. And the Rookie of the year is Brian Grant of the Checking Lions. Wait a minute, didn't he? Yeah, he's played the past 2 seasons. I mean, I can understand the first season not counting as a rookie year, but I mean, he played 65 games last year. I would think that would count as a rookie season. Apparently, he won Rookie of the Year. Okay, congratulations, Brian Grant. I guess. I don't know if you can really qualify as a rookie at this point, but sure. The defenseman of the year between Dan Price, Alexander Tretsevsky, and Buddy Elfring. It is Buddy Elfring of Seattle. 29 points in 54 games played. Really. Best defensive forward between William Demore, James Bowering, and Maximilian Hager. It is William Demore of the Checking Lions. Goalie of the year between Jay Casio, Jeff Moorhead, and Matt Reed is Matt Reed of Seattle with 930 and 7 shutouts in 70 games played. GM of the year between Boris Joust, Rob Grant, and Andy Danforth is Rob Grant of Salt Lake City. And the best coach between Jorge Leckler, Todd Strickland, and Victor Bauman is Todd Strickland of Salt Lake City. There you go. Now we'll take one final look at all the stats over the 10-year history of this league, which of course, given that this is the 10-year anniversary league, I think it makes sense to wrap things up here. So year number 1 saw the Nova Scotia Supernovas win the playoffs. That was actually the highest scoring the league has ever seen with a 5.91. And then that was followed up in year number 2 by the Salt Lake City Lakers winning their first championship. Only 5.34 goals for per game. That was one of the least amount of goals scored in a single year. And that was followed up by back-to-back championships for the Christmas Elfrings in years 3 and 4. And they looked like they were going to be the dynasty, the team to watch out for, you know, but little did we know at that point what was about to happen. Year number 5 saw the Nova Scotia Supernovas win their second championship. And then from there it was all Seattle as they just took over the league. And they have the dynasty of this league for sure. Now let's take a look at the player index and see the top scorers in league history. You have Bob Cunningham as the league leader in points with 863 in 789 games played, followed up by Portnenko, Bruce, Texier, and Hollick to round out the top 5. And goals scored, Eric Brandstrom scored the most with 309 in 716 games played, followed up by Cunningham, Texier, Hollick, and Bruce. Most assists is Cunningham, Portnenko, Furzin, Tincher, and Lutsenko. Highest plus minus, Buddy Elfring with a 209, Cunningham with a 191, Bruce with 183, Riker with a plus 177, and Hinman with a plus 135. Let's see the most game-winning goals. Remy Texier with 62, followed up by Kopetsky with 54, Cunningham with 51, and then 50 for Brandstrom and Filatov. Most hits in the league, Banchikov with 1,939, followed by McGee, Ivanov, Kelly, and Havel. Most shots blocked, Banchikov with 2,331, followed up by Ivanov, Price, Allen, and Elfring. And then in goal, the most wins, you have Mark Carroll with 290 wins. He also leads the way with 49 shutouts. The highest goals against per game with at least 100 games played is Matt Reed with 144 games played and a 239 goals against average. And the highest save percentage with at least 100 games played is Mark Carroll with a 923 in 575 games played. Now let's take a look at the GMs. The most wins for a GM is Calvin Sapunjis with 472 wins. And as for coaches, Roy Childs has the most with 353. So I think that will just about wrap things up here as we finish off this series celebrating 10 years on the channel. So thank you guys for tuning in as always, and I'll see you guys in the next one.